The memory that wouldn't fade. The impossible witness. The courtroom of the Galactic Justice Hall fell silent as Dr. Sarah Chen walked to the witness stand. 300 species watched from the gallery, their eyes following the small human woman with curiosity and doubt. The defendant, War Commander Thexus of the Krell Empire, sat in his containment field with scales gleaming under the lights. He looked confident. Too confident. The trial had dragged on for 6 months. The Krell Empire stood accused of destroying the colony on Refuge 7, killing 40,000 beings from 12 different species. But evidence was hard to find. The Krell were masters at hiding their crimes. They burned records, silenced witnesses, and erased proof like cleaning dust from a table. A human's strange gift. Dr. Chen, began Arbiter Velkoff, a towering Xenthari with silver skin, you claim to have witnessed the attack on Refuge 7. Is this correct? Yes, Arbiter, Sarah replied. Her voice was steady but quiet. The attack happened 3 years, 4 months, and 17 days ago. How can you possibly remember details from so long ago? Sarah took a breath. I have hyperthymesia, Arbiter. It's a rare human condition. I remember everything I've ever experienced. Every sight, every sound, every moment of my life stays in my memory perfectly. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Most species had good memories, but nothing like this. The Xenthari could recall important events. The Quilix could remember technical details. But complete, perfect memory of everything? That seemed impossible. Commander Thexus leaned forward, his translator device clicking. This is ridiculous. No creature can remember everything. The human lies. That's why we're here, Arbiter Velkoff said calmly. To test this claim. He turned back to Sarah. Dr. Chen, please describe what you were doing exactly 1 year ago today. The test begins. Sarah closed her eyes for just a second. 1 year ago today, I was in my laboratory on Station Kepler 9. I was analyzing soil samples from the mining operation on Dust World 447. At 0847 station time, my assistant, Dr. Marcus Webb, brought me coffee. It was too hot, so I waited 4 minutes before drinking it. The sample I was examining showed traces of copper oxide and silicon compounds. The station's air recycler made a clicking sound every 37 seconds that morning because maintenance tech Rolos hadn't fixed the intake valve yet. The Arbiter checked his data pad. His silver skin darkened slightly, which meant surprise. The station logs confirm everything you just said. Even the broken air recycler. Defense attorney Kress, a sharp-tongued Yillith with 4 arms, stood up. Convenient memory, but this proves nothing about Refuge 7. Perhaps she studied the logs. Then let's discuss Refuge 7, Arbiter Velkoff said. Dr. Chen, where were you on the day of the attack? The day everything burned. Sarah's hands gripped the edge of the witness stand. This memory hurt. It always hurt. I was visiting my colleague, Dr. Amara Okonkwo, at the research station on Refuge 7. We were studying the native plant life. The planet was beautiful. Blue grass that glowed at night. Trees with silver bark. The colony had 15,000 humans, plus 25,000 beings from 11 other species. Tell us about the attack, the Arbiter said gently. It started at 1423 local time. I was in the greenhouse with Dr. Okonkwo. We heard the air raid sirens. At first, we thought it was a drill. Then the explosions started. I ran to the window and saw them. 12 Krell warships in the sky. Their hulls were dark red with black markings. Ship identification numbers were visible on 3 of them, KW-7743, KW-8856, and KW-9021. Commander Thexus shifted in his containment field. Ship numbers mean nothing. Those vessels could belong to anyone. I'm not finished, Sarah said, her voice stronger now. The lead ship fired on the civilian shelter at 1426 local time. The shelter where families were hiding. I watched it happen. The energy beam was purple-white, typical of Krell plasma weapons. The shelter collapsed in 4.7 seconds. Every detail, every horror. The courtroom was completely silent now. Even the translator devices seemed to whisper instead of speak. Sarah continued, her eyes distant. At 14:29, a group of Krell soldiers landed near the research station. I counted 27 soldiers in the first wave. Their commander was wearing armor with gold rank markings. He gave orders in Krell language. I learned Krell during my university years, so I understood him. He said, "Leave no witnesses. Make it look like a pirate raid." Defense attorney Kress jumped up. Objection. Convenient translation. She could be making this up. Arbiter Velkoff raised one hand. Please provide the exact Krell words, Dr. Chen. Sarah spoke in fluent Krell, her pronunciation perfect. The Krell translator at the judge's bench confirmed the words matched exactly what she claimed. Commander Thexus was no longer smiling. The commander's voice. I hid in a storage closet, Sarah said, her voice quieter now. Dr. Okonkwo told me to run while she stayed behind. She saved my life. Through the closet door, I heard everything. The Krell commander walked past my hiding spot at 14:34 local time. He was speaking on his communication device. I heard his voice clearly. The arbiter leaned forward. Can you identify that voice, Dr. Chen? Yes. It was Commander Thexus. Sarah pointed at the defendant. His voice has a specific pattern. A slight whistle on S sounds. A deeper tone on vowels. I've listened to his public speeches since then. It's the same voice. More lies. Thexus roared. I was nowhere near that colony. Then explain this, Sarah said. She nodded to her lawyer, who projected an image on the courtroom screens. This is a piece of armor I found in the rubble 3 weeks after the attack. When I went back to recover Dr. Okonkwo's body, I found this hidden under collapsed building materials. I kept it safe. I remembered exactly where it was. The armor fragment showed clear markings. Gold rank symbols. A personal identifier code. And most damning of all, a name etched in Krell script. Thexus. The weight of perfect memory. You planted that, the commander shouted. The fragment has been tested, Arbiter Velkoff said, reading from his data pad. The molecular aging confirms it's been on Refuge 7 for over 3 years. The DNA traces match Commander Thexus. The personal code in our military database confirms this armor was issued to him specifically. Sarah stood taller now. I remember 40,000 faces from that colony. Every person I passed on the streets. Every family I saw in the marketplace. Every child playing in the parks. I remember them because they're dead now. Because Commander Thexus ordered their execution and tried to hide his crime. The gallery erupted in noise. Species from across the galaxy shouted questions, demanded justice, and called for punishment. The arbiter had to use his sonic gavel 3 times to restore order. Dr. Chen, the arbiter said, one final question. Why didn't you come forward immediately after the attack? The truth about memory. Sarah's eyes were wet now, but she didn't look away. Because having perfect memory is both a gift and a curse, arbiter. I remember every good moment in my life with perfect clarity. My mother's smile. My first day of school. The taste of my grandmother's cooking. But I also remember every bad moment. Every pain. Every loss. Every nightmare. She paused, gathering strength. After the attack, I was traumatized. I spent 2 years in therapy learning to function again. Because when you remember everything perfectly, trauma doesn't fade. It doesn't get easier with time. Every day, I relive those moments as if they're happening right now. I needed time to be strong enough to stand here and tell this story without breaking apart. The courtroom was silent again, but this time it was different. It was the silence of understanding. Of respect. I came forward now because 40,000 beings deserve justice. Dr. Okonkwo deserves justice. And my perfect memory, this curse I carry, is finally good for something. It can make sure the truth survives. That the dead are not forgotten. That monsters like Commander Thexus face consequences for their actions. Arbiter Velkov looked at the evidence. The armor fragment. The ship identification numbers that matched Krell military records. Sarah's testimony that lined up with every verifiable fact. The voice analysis that confirmed Thexus was at the scene. Commander Thexus, the Arbiter said, you are remanded to custody. This trial will continue tomorrow with additional evidence. But I must say, I've never seen a more compelling witness than Dr. Sarah Chen. As guards led the commander away, he looked at Sarah with pure hatred. But she didn't flinch. She had carried the memory of that day for 3 years. She would carry it forever. But now, at least, it meant something. Now, the dead would have their justice, the memory that changed everything. The second day of truth. The courtroom filled early the next morning. News of Sarah's testimony had spread across the galaxy overnight. Now, representatives from 200 species crowded the gallery. They wanted to see the human with perfect memory finish what she'd started. They wanted to watch justice finally catch up with the Krell Empire. Sarah sat in the witness area, wearing the same simple gray suit as yesterday. She looked tired. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept well. How could she? For her, yesterday's testimony wasn't recalling old memories. It was reliving them with perfect clarity, as if the attack happened all over again. Defense attorney Kress paced in front of her, all 4 arms moving as he spoke. The Yilith lawyer was known for destroying witnesses. He'd broken down testimony from trained military officers and experienced diplomats. Surely one human woman would be easy prey. He was wrong. The attack that couldn't break her. Dr. Chen, Kress began, his voice smooth like oil, you've made serious accusations. But perfect memory seems convenient, doesn't it? How do we know you didn't study all these details after the attack and simply memorize them? Sarah looked at him calmly. Ask me anything about any moment of my life. Test me however you want. Kress smiled, showing sharp teeth. Very well. Tell me what you had for breakfast on your 10th birthday. Pancakes with blueberry syrup and scrambled eggs. My father made them because my mother was working night shift at the hospital. He burned the first batch of pancakes at 0727. The smoke alarm went off, and our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez from apartment 4B, knocked on the door to make sure we were okay. She was wearing a green robe with coffee stains on the left sleeve. The second batch of pancakes came out perfect. I ate 3 of them. Kress checked his data pad. He'd obviously researched her background. His face fell slightly. Everything she said matched records from her childhood home's computer logs. Even the smoke alarm activation at 0727. Lucky guess, he tried. Is it? Sarah asked. Would you like to test me again? I can tell you what I wore on my first day of university. The exact words my thesis advisor said when I defended my doctoral research. What the weather was like on any random day you choose. Every book I've ever read, word for word. Every conversation I've ever had. The real attack begins. Kress changed tactics. This condition of yours, hyperthymesia. It must be difficult. Remembering every embarrassing moment. Every mistake. Every time someone hurt you. Yes, Sarah said simply. So you hold grudges. You can't forget when someone wrongs you. I remember wrongs done to me, yes. But remembering isn't the same as seeking revenge. Kress leaned closer. 40,000 beings died on Refuge 7. Many of them human. Perhaps this isn't about justice at all. Perhaps this is about a grieving human who wants revenge against the Krell Empire and is willing to lie to get it. Sarah's hands remained steady on the witness stand. I'm not lying. But you're emotional. Traumatized. You admitted that yesterday. How do we know your perfect memory isn't twisted by grief and anger? Because memory doesn't work that way, Sarah replied. Emotions don't change facts. I feel sad when I remember that day. I feel angry. But the facts remain the same. The ships had specific identification numbers. The soldiers wore specific armor. Commander Thexus gave specific orders in specific words. My feelings don't change those truths. The evidence speaks. Arbiter Velkov interrupted. Defense Attorney Kress, we've verified Dr. Chen's testimony against multiple sources. Station logs, military records, forensic evidence from Refuge 7. Everything matches her account. Matches, yes, Kress said. But correlation isn't causation. Perhaps she reviewed all those records and built a story around them. Then explain this, Prosecutor Shervara said, standing. The Quilix prosecutor was small but fierce. She projected a new image on the courtroom screens. This is a communication log we recovered from damaged Krell military servers. It was deleted and encrypted, but our technicians reconstructed it. The log shows Commander Thexus requesting permission to engage targets on Refuge 7 3 hours before the attack. Commander Thexus shifted in his containment field. That's fabricated evidence. The encryption matches Krell military standards from 3 years ago, Shervara continued. The metadata shows it was created at the time and place Dr. Chen described. And most interesting, the communication mentions leaving no witnesses and disguising the attack as a pirate raid. The exact words Dr. Chen testified she heard Commander Thexus say. The courtroom erupted in noise. Journalists from every major network were already broadcasting updates across the galaxy. The Krell Empire was about to have a very bad day. The memory of voices. But Kress wasn't finished. Voice identification can be fooled. Technology can fake anything these days. Not this, Sarah said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. When I heard Commander Thexus speak 3 years ago, I didn't just remember his words. I remembered his voice pattern. The exact frequency, pitch, and tone. The way he breathes between sentences. The slight pause he makes before saying the letter R. She looked directly at Thexus. That's not something you can fake or recreate from studying recordings. It's the unique signature of how your vocal cords move, how air passes through your throat, how your species-specific anatomy creates sound. I've listened to every public speech you've given since the attack. Your voice hasn't changed. It matches perfectly with what I heard that day. Arbiter Velkov consulted with the technical experts. After several minutes, the head linguist, a Zenthari named Professor Kelthax, spoke. Dr. Chen is correct. Voice patterns are as unique as genetic code. If she can identify specific patterns from 3 years ago and match them to current recordings, that's stronger evidence than any technology we possess. The breaking point. Commander Thexus finally spoke, his translator making his voice sound harsh. This is persecution. One human's word against a decorated officer of the Krell Empire. It's not just her word anymore, Prosecutor Shervara said. We have the communication logs. We have the armor fragment with your DNA. We have ship records showing those 3 vessels were under your command that day. We have witness testimony from survivors who heard the soldiers speaking Krell and following orders. Dr. Chen's testimony simply connected all these pieces together. She's lying. No, Sarah said, her voice cutting through his shout. I'm remembering. There's a difference. Lying requires changing facts to fit a story. Memory means carrying facts even when you wish you could forget them. She stood up from the witness stand. Do you want to know what I wish I could forget, Commander Thexus? I wish I could forget Dr. Okonkwo's face when she told me to run. I wish I could forget the sound of the shelter collapsing. I wish I could forget the smell of smoke and burning. I wish I could forget counting bodies in the rubble 3 weeks later. The truth no one could deny. Sarah's voice grew stronger. But I can't forget. That's my curse. I carry every moment of that day with perfect clarity. And now, finally, that curse has a purpose. Because you thought you could hide your crime. You thought 40,000 deaths would disappear into history like they never mattered. But I remembered. Every detail. Every fact. Every truth. She turned to face the gallery. This is what humans do. We remember. We carry our dead with us. We tell their stories. We make sure that evil doesn't get to erase itself from existence. My memory isn't just about me. It's about every being who died that day. They live on in my perfect recall. And through me, they can finally have justice. The silence that followed was heavy with emotion. Even the journalists had stopped typing. Even the protesters outside the building had gone quiet. Commander Thexus slumped in his containment field. For the first time, he looked defeated. The verdict that echoed across space. Arbiter Velkov spoke in a formal tone. Commander Thexus of the Krell Empire, based on the evidence presented, including expert testimony from Dr. Sarah Chen, forensic analysis of the armor fragment, recovered military communications, and ship movement records, this tribunal finds you guilty of war crimes. Guilty of ordering the massacre of 40,000 civilians. Guilty of attempting to conceal evidence of these crimes. The gavel came down. You are hereby sentenced to life imprisonment on Prison World Omega-7. Your military rank is stripped. Your honors are revoked. Your name will be recorded in galactic history not as a commander, but as a war criminal. The gallery erupted in cheers and shouts. Some species celebrated justice. Others protested the sentence as too lenient. But Sarah simply sat down, her shoulders sagging with relief and exhaustion. The human gift to the galaxy. Later, outside the courthouse, journalists surrounded Sarah. Dr. Chen. How does it feel to win? I didn't win, she said quietly. 40,000 beings are still dead. Dr. Okonkwo is still gone. Justice doesn't bring them back. Then why did you do this? Sarah thought carefully about her answer. Because memory matters. Because truth matters. Because the dead deserve to be remembered, not erased. My condition, this hyperthymesia that makes every day harder, finally did something good. It made sure that one powerful being couldn't make 40,000 lives disappear. Will you continue witnessing in other trials? Another journalist asked. If needed, Sarah said. But I hope I won't be needed. I hope other species learn the lesson here. You can't hide from the truth. Someone will remember. Someone will speak up. And eventually, justice will come. The memory that lives forever. That night, alone in her quarters, Sarah opened her personal journal. She wrote down every detail of the trial, just as she remembered every detail of her life. Not because she needed to, but because she wanted others to know the story someday. She wrote about Dr. Okonkwo's bravery. About the 40,000 faces she would carry forever. About standing in that courtroom and finally giving voice to the dead. And she wrote about hope. Because if one human with perfect memory could bring down a powerful war criminal, what else might humanity achieve? What other truths might they uncover? What other injustices might they correct? Across the galaxy, the news spread. The story of the human who remembered everything. The woman who couldn't forget, and turned that curse into justice. Other survivors began coming forward. Other witnesses started sharing their stories. Because Sarah had shown them something important: memory is power. Truth is strength. And speaking up, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, can change the universe. The Krell Empire tried to protest the verdict. They failed. Because now, everyone was watching. Everyone was listening. Everyone remembered what happened when you tried to erase the truth. And somewhere in a medical facility on Station Kepler 9, Dr. Sarah Chen finally slept peacefully. The dead still lived in her memory. But now they also lived in the galaxy's history books. Now their deaths meant something. Now they would never be forgotten. Because that's what humans do best. they remember. And they make sure the universe remembers too.